righty, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to Late Night Green Interview Edition. What's going on, my friend Todd Father in the house?
Man, everything is good, very well.
Good and very well.
Yes.
I don't think I've ever heard you say things are good and very well before.
Well, no, I'll take that.
Yeah,
So,
I'll take it too.
what's going on with you, Philly Phil?
Man, it's a busy day today, man. Just a lot of running around. There's a lot of moving parts. We were filming Canologist last night, so we're excited about that. And we'll talk about that tonight. Just a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah, moving and shaking, man.
Moving and shaking. And we've got a moving and shaking type of interview for you guys tonight. I'm super excited about it because we get to interview somebody that we've been watching for a while, so we're super excited about this. I am extremely super happy to have. But I do want to say one thing before we jump into the interview. On the late night show tonight, I want to let everyone know we're doing the Weed Olympics. So the Weed Olympics is Todd Father versus Philly Phil in a epic battle of Weed Olympics. So that's coming up tonight on the late night show, on the late night edition. That's a little loud. We'll fix that. But
I'm going for the goal, baby.
yeah, I hope we don't hurt ourselves, man.
Well, we'll take it easy.
All right. Well, let's get busy here because we've got a great guest here. I want to welcome to the show someone that we've been watching for a while, and I'm super happy to have here. I'll have to get corrected whether it's Tom or Thomas. I know you say Tom on the website, on the YouTube channel. Tom, welcome to the show. We've got Tom Howard. He has the YouTube channel called Legalization, Cannabis Legalization News. And welcome to the show, Thomas. How are you?
I'm well. Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah.
I appreciate the chance to sit down with you guys. Philly, great city. Haven't been there in a few years, but hopefully Pennsylvania gets its act together soon, and you guys can actually get some licenses out there.
My
as
goodness.
opposed to just the few that you have for medical.
Yeah, and it is very far and few in between with Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania, and you know it as well as anybody, the journey's been long, very long with Pennsylvania. And so it seems like we might be at the end of that long journey. I think the legislator is being, every state other than West Virginia around Pennsylvania. After the midterms.
How do you guys do your elections? Are you guys like Virginia? Or are you guys like Illinois? Do you guys have elections this year?
Do we? I think we do, don't we?
State elections.
I think we do
so
have
we
state
do,
elections.
yeah.
We do.
Because like Virginia's odd duck, and so they go the year after, and so that's why Spang Man or whatever, I'm not sure her name, but she's actually going to undo what Youngkin did in Virginia.
Correct.
So that's what you hope. And Pam Bondi put on a shit show, literally, yesterday in front of Congress. And so if it just keeps going this way, and it gets the Republicans get skunked in Pennsylvania, you can do it. But the reason why Pennsylvania hasn't gone is the reason why Wisconsin hasn't gone. You have a swing state, and you have a very equally divided legislature. And for whatever reason, like a lot of my viewers are Republican, and they get pissed when I say this. Whatever. And so I'm just like, and then I tell them like, well, let's go to their voting record. Let's not politicize this. Let's just look at how they voted. And so if you look at how they vote, that's who shuts it down. It's the Republicans. Every time. And so like if this Democrats really outperform Republicans in the election this year, and some of those seats switch in Pennsylvania's capital is
Harrisburg.
Is it Philadelphia?
Harrisburg.
And so if Harrisburg has a few more Democratic votes, and Shapiro, the governor, can get his agenda through, it'll go. Mm-hmm. But
well, listen,
the
Tom,
problem then becomes like. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just going to jump in and say that Shapiro is an interesting character in an interesting place at an interesting time right now because he has aspirations of his own. I don't think that his aspirations, that he'll be able to move it forward and have a pro-cannabis agenda with a campaign if you can't even get your own house in order, your own house. And so we've had legislators in the Pennsylvania House come in. We've had them come in, tell us about their legislation, what they're doing. They've given us the feel of the room, what people are saying. So we've had our finger on it. But what I've felt and what I've said often enough is that I think it lacks leadership, and that leadership comes from the governor, because what we don't hear, and we just don't hear it very often, is we don't hear the governor talking about it, except just recently we're starting to hear it.
That ain't it. Like that I've done this too long, and I'm too cynical.
All right,
it's
tell
the
me.
legislator.
Yeah.
And so the legislation, like, if you can't get it, and like, so right now in Illinois, we're getting killed by hemp. And so like I was looking at the vault today. I have a $60,000 vault next to a $60,000 security system. And down the road is some guy just selling THCA diamonds with gambling and liquor and tobacco too.
Yep.
And so, and he ain't got no license. And so, and it's because of the legislature. And so like our legislature is held hostage by, the rule of 60, we call it in the General Assembly. And so the Democrats, they passed this 6 years ago. All these really rich people took over the industry, and it's not their fault. Like, you set this up, so like you need a $60,000 vault, $60,000 security system. Nobody can get a loan because it's illegal, right? And so it's all in cash. So you have to buy a building, you have to do a $500,000 development, you have to then get open, you have to buy $50,000 worth of product, and you have to train all these people, and they only give it to social equity applicants.
Yeah.
And so I'm waiting on our social equity loan, and I CC'd them today when I'm talking to the regulator. I'm like, does the particular sign that says restricted access area, no admission, go here and here? And so like, we're trying to get open, we don't have enough money to hire our staff. And so they thought that, oh my gosh, it's not social equity anymore. It's bad for black and brown people. And then the hemp industry was like, we're good for black and brown people. Yep. And they just started selling
anywhere,
THCA.
everywhere.
They just started selling all the stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Tom, that's not even to mention the fact that these businesses aren't even allowed to take expenses like other companies can, because they want top line revenue, taxes on top line. So
you'll get audited. Well, okay, there's ways that I approach IRC 280E. We don't have to talk about that right now. Let's talk about Pennsylvania. And so like Pennsylvania, though, it's the legislature. And so like that legislature, you have this, and then Trump just won 2 years ago, so that reset the burden. And so I think the Senate is Republican controlled, and our House is Democrat controlled, because I've been watching for Pennsylvania to go. And I just hope that Pennsylvania goes in kind of like how Virginia's gone. I think Virginia's got enough licenses, and they're trying to spread them out, and they have license restrictions on it, and there's not too much of an establishment of an industry there to lock out people. And so you could have a wonderful hundreds of licenses. And so like Miggy is my co-host on the show, and he's from Washington State, and they have a limited licensing system because like it's regulated, man. Like you have to be able to do recalls. You have to have all these security things. And so as a result of that regulatory load, they limit the licenses so that there's going to be a cash flow, so that the dispensaries just don't go broke because they're trying to comply with the laws, and that makes them have to sell out.
Yeah.
And so like Pennsylvania's really got an opportunity, and I hope they take it, to have a lot of licenses spread out, license limits. So how do you do the license limits? Virginia did 5, Illinois has done 10. I think Washington State also did 10. And so then you could have, 500 dispensary licenses with a 10 license limit. That's dozens of businesses that could be there. But okay, let's say you get the license, or let's say you're social equity too, and they try to do that. You got to get a zone. You can't get a mortgage. There's no loans. Yep. There's no loans at all. And so like, do I get a loan on mine? No, it's all in cash. You can get a loan after it's built, and you can show cash flow.
It's a lot of barriers.
Right.
It's wild. It's wild. And I want to talk these issues with you, but let's take just a quick step back. And I know that you kind of started. It's safe to say that you started your YouTube channel in around 2017, 2018 timeframe.
19. We start. This is our 7th year, and so like I started it, and so like I started my own company and like my own practice. I got out of big law in 2018. Mm-hmm. And then I'm like, and I had like these lawyers that were trying to get me to do, and they were right. I would have made a lot more money looking back, but I made an okay amount of money. And so they said, you're good in front of an audience, you should be a litigator. And I had already been a litigator for like 10 years for like the banks. And so like, I'm like, I'm going to do a YouTube channel. And so I should have just done 2 YouTube channels. One where I don't mention weed at all and treat it like Voldemort, like he who can't be named, just to like create a little bit of intrigue. Mm-hmm. And then another one where I just talk about weed, because like you can't really grow when you talk about weed. You get shadow banned, you get 18 plus, you get demonetized, all these things. Like nobody who finds our channel is under 24, and so like you will not get your channel served to anybody who's less than 24. Yeah. And so it's all these problems that you have when you're trying to make a YouTube channel for it. But then basically to the day, like 2019, so 7 years ago, I was like, Miggy, I've known you for a while. We've both been activists, digitally at least. And so why don't we try to do a podcast about like what's been going on in cannabis for the past week? And so we were doing it on Google Hangouts. It was like before all these streaming services were really big. Mm-hmm. And so that allowed us to kind of get out there. But it was 2019. And then I used that to do business in Illinois and then various other states, still not Pennsylvania or like Wisconsin, where I got my law degree, because Wisconsin and Pennsylvania, swing states, have not gone, Wisconsin hasn't even gone medical. Pennsylvania hasn't done anything since it went medical, and it went medical like very corporate. Like you can't even get in.
And not only that, but the dispensaries they're damn near sterilized. They've put really not a whole lot of effort into any retail appeal or any type of things that you would see in any type of recreational state. So it's we're behind the ball, and so they've got Pennsylvania residents just flowing over whatever border they can get to. They make their purchase, they come back, and you're making citizens of the state criminals because you can't get your legislative act together, and that's
and the good old black market.
And not only that. Mm-hmm. So when you were practicing, were you practicing? Did your practice have anything to do with cannabis, or was it just cannabis came after?
I was a bank lawyer, and so like I was a bank lawyer for about a decade, and then it was all cannabis. I own a law firm, mm-hmm. and I'm going to retire from litigation this year, and so I'm retiring from litigation because I have to run a dispensary in a cannabis company. But I'll still do like corporate work, and I'll still help market, and I'll still help the lawyers that I work with do good things. But when I was practicing, it was mostly banking and litigation, and then when I got into the cannabis space, it was corporate, and then the cannabis, and because you're a business, and so like you touch all these aspects of law, and so like I have an understanding of most of them. But now I have some clients, like a handful of clients. I'll still take some, not from Pennsylvania. I'm not licensed there. We don't even have a guy that is. Like we have somebody in New York because obviously, but nobody in Pennsylvania because obviously.
Right.
And as a result, But then if they go, that's great. But then you need a consultant, and then you would need a lawyer to do the lawyery things. And if Pennsylvania does it like these other states, there's all these tomfoolery that you can do with corporate formations. And so like we win a lot of these licenses in various states because me and the guys will work on what is specifically following the rules that gives our clients statistical edge. And it's worked. But then CANRA is always like looking to see if they could shut down companies like mine. And so like they did a pretty good job in Rhode Island. Rhode Island, you had the best chance of getting a dispensary in Rhode Island.
Interesting.
But it sucked. Well, it sucked. And so like you have to hold real estate for 6 months. Getting into a lottery. You have to prepare a 100-page application. You have to pay them $7,500. You have to settle up with a real estate guy and pay that for like 6-7 months. And in the other states, like the real estate guy is like, hey, I'm not going to find out what's happening in this for a while because you have to have the licensed lottery, and then somebody might win, and then I'm a landlord. But I don't know that's going to happen, and you have like a 1% chance of winning, and so you could stack applications on a piece of real estate. And Canberra shut that down. So now if you're the real estate owner of the particular dispensary or grow or whatever, you could just have one application. And so you have to have access to that property for like 6 months or more. You know, like what's that? It costs so much to even apply.
And no other business in any other industry is subjected to anything even remotely close to that. So it's just, it seems so wrong. It just seems so freaking wrong.
Right, right. And then that's before you realize no loans, no banking. And then when people hear that you're in cannabis, oh, you're rich. I'm going to charge you twice as much.
Yeah. It's a terrible catch-22 as it stands right now. When did the idea of you moving into and having a dispensary, and I don't know if you're moving into any type of cultivation as well or manufacturing, but I know you mentioned retail.
We'll do retail because like magnify your problems, or like multiply them. And so like if you have retail problems, great. Now imagine that your entire inventory and your power bill. And so like in Illinois, it was a stupid, because I'm on like the Bar Association's section council for cannabis law. And so like whenever they put in bills in the legislature, we get to see them. And so one just came through about like green energy. And I'm like, you will not even allow us to grow outdoors. Talk about green energy. Here's the sun. Oh, no. Grow all the weed inside. And you're like, okay, great. So now you've said, okay, now create the sun indoors. And it's only going to go to social equity applicants that don't have any money to get operational.
Yep.
And so you have to build a grow that's compliant with the regulations. So like a grow's security system's not $60,000, $80,000. It's $500,000, for the security system. And then, okay, great, you're open. Bring in the clones. Close your eyes. Who knows where they came from, right? Immaculate conception. Now you have to flower that stuff, and then you have to put it out as a consumer packaged good. All right, and so take another like 6 months of just sucking wind expenses and trying to cover that. How is that person who's social equity supposed to get operational? And you see what they do in Virginia? 10,000 square feet outdoor. That's how you get operational, because the price per pound outdoor versus indoor is orders of magnitude difference. It might be $50 outdoors and $500 indoors.
Yep. And so you believe that the outdoor provision, the grow provision for outdoors, is the way for equity applicants to be able to even come close to making it. Okay.
And then like your security system regulations have to be more reasonable. And like, I have to have a security guard. I have to contract with a security guard. I have to have a contract with a licensed security guards, licensed alarm people. I don't have to have a contract with a union, but I have to have contracts with licensed professionals to be able to do business. And then down the road is a guy selling THCA diamond infused Delta 9 THCP, whatever, pre-rolls.
Yep.
No regulations.
It's
with two young 20-year-olds in there, not making
much money. Listen, it is the worst of the worst problems to have in an industry that's like trying to get its act together and move forward. I mean, to have this level of regulation and then to have the opposite side with absolutely zero, that's crazy, and it's wild. It really is.
And then if you look at the product, their product is more dangerous, because like it doesn't have all that safety that's baked in. So like that stuff wasn't grown on a license. It wasn't tested. It didn't have to get pure.
That's right.
And then like, oh, you did chemistry to it to make it into THCO, and then you did some more chemistry, and you took the CBD and you put it into crystalline THCA, and you rolled all that stuff on there, and now it's coming into 60% THC, total THC, and then gosh knows what it is with the THCO and the THCP. Nothing. No regulations. If that gets you sick, who do you call?
So what do they?
If that has mold in it, how do you do it?
So what do they do to get these certificates? These certificates of authenticity that they have to have. They get them and then they just ride off the old.
Some are fraudulent. A lot of them are getting fraudulent certificates and running their businesses.
Exactly.
So
you grow it in Oklahoma where they don't have seed to sale, or you grow it in California where they've been breaking the law since the law was being broken in the first place. So you grow it in Oregon, or you grow it in Michigan and you point the camera the wrong way. And so there's all these places where it comes from. And then it's called inversion. And so it's going from the illicit market and it's going into the legal market through a COA. That's from 2003, 2023. And you're like, wait a minute. So this crop that you're selling me right here was harvested 2 years ago. Come on.
Yeah. And I guess what's the regulation they have to do? What's the frequency that they're supposed to do it properly if they were to do it properly?
The hamsters?
Yeah,
the hamsters are supposed to. The only test that they're supposed to do is a test for total THC no more than 30 days prior to harvest, which makes no sense because 80% of the cannabinoids show up in the last 4 weeks of flower. And so that rule will be changed because they've changed the definition of hemp. And so they went too far on this, and then Congress did what it does. It overreacted. It went way too far the other way. And they're like, oh, they're going to save it. They're going to save it. I'm like, do you see who's in charge? They hate you. They aren't saving nothing. And not only that, they've passed all the stuff they need to pass, and now they're going to go get elected because it's an election year. And that's what's going to happen. They're going to argue about defunding ICE and the Epstein files for the next 7 months. They don't care about you. And so the hemp stuff will get defunded or debanked. It'll be illegal again. We'll see how much they want to enforce it. But, if Democrats win out in November, and it looks like they will because of obvious reasons, that could be really good in Pennsylvania for getting legislation through that it'll legalize. However, don't do it in such a way that it penalizes the license holders, and don't do it in such a way because I'm from Illinois. I'm kind of from the epicenter of all these publicly traded like GTI and Verano and Cresco and True Leaf, Harvest and what begat from that. And I know these guys. I like them, but I'm like, really wasn't the play. You shouldn't have tried to be Coca-Cola first. You should have tried to be Sam Adams Brewery, and then eventually get turn into Budweiser over time. And they really thought that John Boehner from 10 years ago was involved. He was the Speaker of the House, the Republican Speaker of the House out of Ohio, and that's where Acreage Holdings came from. And so they thought this would all be a done deal in 5 years, and they could just go public. No, that's how much prejudice is in this plan. And so I don't mind it going to Schedule 3, but I just think we need to have a bill, and Congress has to do this. Just take the pen and just cross off the name marijuana. So marijuana is no longer a term of art under federal law. And they'll just talk about the cannabis plant with THC or not THC. And bring the stigma down by getting rid of the word that caused it.
Yeah, the one that they spent years and years and years vilifying and demonizing, and we have posters here in our set that is exactly just that. Let me just ask you, because I'm just kind of thinking about this outdoor grow. How many states actually allow outdoor grow? Very few, right?
Quite a few.
Oh, quite a few?
No, quite a few. Quite a few
Okay.
do. Even the limited states of Washington allows it. I'm not sure if Arizona allows it. Arizona kind of should, or at least with greenhouse. Illinois also should. California does. Colorado does. Oregon does. Michigan does.
Okay.
Virginia will. I think New Jersey does. I think New York does. And so allowing outdoor grow, sun grown, they call it, when they're trying to make it sound better. Like, all of our wine is grown outdoors, right? Those grapes, all of our plants are grown outdoors. You should be allowed to have indoor grows, but indoor grows from a power and a cost standpoint are the worst.
Yeah,
if you want your program to fail and to cost $1 bazillion to get operational and to not roll out, require indoor grows.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. Man, you're a wealth of knowledge, my man. You're a wealth of knowledge, and we appreciate having you on here. What we're going to do, Tom, is we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, I'd love to chat with you about Second Amendment stuff. I know you have been hammering home on the channel some of the stuff that's been going on. There's, obviously a case that's going on. I'd love to hear your opinion on that. So we will actually be back right after this. See you in a minute.
Marijuana is huge.
So many dispensaries have resorted to a bland, impersonal shopping experience, where you often don't even get to see a sample of the cannabis you're planning on purchasing before you buy it. If you're looking for that extra personal touch, come check out High Roller Dispensary in Atlantic City, New Jersey. Our staff are avid cannabis connoisseurs who are sure to help you find the strains that fit you best. Whether you're looking for premium flower, edibles, concentrates, or tinctures, we have you covered with over 100 different strains to choose from, all of which are able to be seen, smelled, and thoroughly examined in our elegant showroom. If you're in a rush, we offer a seamless online ordering system that allows for in-depth exploration of all that we have to offer. So whether you're a novice or a seasoned stoner, be sure to stop by High Roller Dispensary and we'll make sure you're floating on Cloud 9 by the time you leave.
Right around here, 15 inches, maybe if you're younger, you go up to 19 inches, Yeah, you already went the big end.
Sometimes a CIO might make commitments to a CEO that they just can't fulfill. And it's very hard to succeed in those environments. You really want to be able to set the expectation right up front.
How would you feel with no sex, no weed for a month or two? I'm going to be really angry.
I just feel sorry for Jake.
Yeah, Jake's going to get fucked up.
Wow, this is Phil. Yeah, for this is all you. This is the Cough Country OG pink hoodie.
Hey, I'm OG Ganja Goddess, and you're watching Cough Country TV. Peace.
This is Chef Marvin Jane, and you're watching Cough Country TV, live from New York.
Okay, cool. Welcome back to Late Night Green Interview Edition. Tonight we have Tom Howard. He has the YouTube channel Cannabis Legalization Network. I'll get that out, and we'll bring Tom back in on the conversation. We appreciate having him here tonight. I'll just there we go. Hey, what's up, man? All right, so
what's up, guys?
What's up, brother? What's up, brother? So, so let's talk about what's going on with the Second Amendment, because we've been doing stories here on Cough Country News. I think that's how you kind of found us with Cough Country News, and so I've been watching your stuff, and you're extremely informed on what's going on. Is it the Hamani? Did I get that right? Hamani case?
I think so. I think it's the Hamani case. There's been a series of them. And so that's one of the reasons why the Supreme Court eventually took it up, because there was a split of the circuits. And so, like, there was a recent case that the Boyce Schiller law firm, oh my goodness, I'll never practice at that one, mostly because I like to have a life, and, you know, I don't value money as much as them. And so, because you could tell how they valued money, because they knew they were taking a loser of a case and saying, I think you have a real good shot, even though they didn't, because like there had been no split of the circuits that said that the government, the regular Commerce Clause of the First Amendment, the first article of the Congress's power, had changed since the Gonzales v. Rage case from 2005, and that reaffirmed another case from like 1941 called Wickard v. Filburn. And so with that, their case got thrown in the garbage. This case about gun rights is completely different, and it has to do with the different statute, and it has to do with the different rights. You know, one is Congress's power, which is almost what they call plenary, which is just like unfettered almost power to do whatever you want when it comes to that area. Congress went too far, and they started to infringe into your Second Amendment rights for the Hamani case. And so that's where they say that, you know, if you are a drug user or if you're addicted to drugs, and marijuana is one of them because it's a Schedule I substance, you can't have a firearm. Just the whole thing, like that is not, it's not a reasonable like restriction. Like you go to a bar and you have to check your irons at the door, like, you know, back in the Old West, where you can't bring your six-shooter in and then do a whole bunch of whiskey and shoot somebody up. You know, they would have a reasonable time, place, and manner restriction on your Second Amendment right to bear arms. This one is, it's a categorical prohibition on your right to bear arms because you use marijuana. They aren't allowed to do that. And so like these cases, and I've done several videos on it, they're starting to like work their way through what they call the circuits, and the circuits are the courts. And so in federal court, you have the district courts that are throughout the land, and then you have the circuits, which, you know, after you lose or win, somebody who loses will try to appeal to the circuit courts. And then there's, I think, 12 of them throughout the United States. And then you have the Supreme Court. And so when there's a split in the circuits regarding what the holdings of the actual federal law is, that has more of a probability of being taken up by the Supreme Court and being granted what they call certiorari, which is a Latin word for I'm not sure. And so they didn't teach me Latin in law school. And so, but it means that they're going to take the case. And so they have taken the Hamani case because, and it was a winner for Hamani the whole way. And so like the district court dismissed and said, no, that's an infringement on his Second Amendment right. You just can't say because the guy uses weed that means that categorically he cannot have a firearm. That violates the Second Amendment. It'd be one thing, like, you know, if he's sitting there and he's smoking a blunt while he's driving a car and shooting somebody. Okay, there you can say you're not allowed to do that. You're not allowed to have a firearm while driving and smoking a blunt, or while just smoking a blunt. Like, you know, while you're high, they could say you're restricted from having your firearm as well. But when you wake up and you're just trying to protect your family at your house, you know, you can't infringe on that right. And so those types of holdings have started to come up, especially in the Hamani case. And so then I can't remember which circuit he's in. I think it's the Fifth, which is a very conservative circuit, and I believe that's Texas's. And so if you know, I'm not sure what your circuit is over there. It might be the Second. But then I'm in the Seventh, that's Chicago, and the Ninth is the West Coast, and the Fifth is in Chicago. I'm sorry, is in Texas. And so if you hear something out of the 5th, it's very conservative, so pro-gun rights. And they, at the circuit court level, they also dismissed the case. And now it's going up to the Supreme Court level. We will have the oral arguments, and so we'll have another episode of this where we'll get to hear what the judges kind of think about it, and the justices when they're not just judges and they're on the Supreme Court, they call them justices. And so they're going to take questions and all that. We'll hear what they have to say about it. I believe it's March 2nd or 3rd when they have this oral argument, and then they'll issue their opinion later. Typically, they issue them by the end of June. So I think that this is going to be the rights for marijuana users, gun rights. So you'll have your right to bear arms not infringed. Now, it won't mean that you get to, shoot your gun while you're smoking a blunt, but if you're a cannabis user, you will have the right to bear arms, just to the same extent that an alcohol user would have it.
That's what I was just going to say. It puts it more in line with the way alcohol is treated with this. It's really interesting that, well, let me ask you this first. Does the fact that we're going from 1 to 3 play a role in any of this consideration by the courts?
I don't think so. And so, I don't think it comes into the calculation in this one. I could be wrong. We'll see what the justices say. You hear it sometimes in cases regarding the dormant commerce clause, where there's another aspect, and so I'm not in Boyce Schiller, and God willing, I'll never be in a large law firm. But you would have the ability to say, look, we might be able to get a split of opinion because they have the right to do it in this jurisdiction, but not in that jurisdiction. And so, with guns, it is turning out that way. But the next one might have to do with the, I can't remember what it was going to be. I just had a brain fart.
That's okay.
My bad.
Yeah. That happens. So
it'll come back in like 2 minutes. Like, oh, yeah.
We know about that.
So do you feel by June we'll actually have a resolution to this that's favorable to
by the end?
Yeah, by the end?
By the end of June. Oh, the Dormant Commerce Clause. And so that's what it was. And so with the Dormant Commerce Clause, remember, with the Gonzalez v. Raich case, Congress has the power to regulate the commercial industry of cannabis by saying it's banned. But then there's this line of cases now that says, well, one state can self-preference itself against another state when it comes to licensing cannabis businesses because the Dormant Commerce Clause doesn't apply because it's illegal. That might not win the day, because if the Congress has the power to regulate it out of existence, just because it's out of existence, that doesn't mean the states can then say we don't have to listen to it because the Congress is regulated out of existence.
Right.
And so we'll see if that comes back to bite them. But that's the next split of opinion that's kind of working its way through the courts. And all of this is kind of silly, and it only really happens because it's a Schedule I plant. And it's, as Clarence Thomas, Justice Thomas mentioned in his standing akimbo, it wasn't even an opinion, it was just like a comment. It was just hilarious. Clarence Thomas actually issued a comment to a case that didn't even take or argue. It's like, what the heck's this? What's this half in, half out, nonsensical cannabis policy that you guys have in this country? Yeah, exactly. What is that?
Exactly. What? Let's switch gears a little bit. Who's the next state that's going to go?
Yeah, I don't know. At Virginia, obviously Virginia. Okay. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Right. I mean, they have everything in the right position for it to be Virginia. They have a governor who wants it. You have Nebraska. Poor Nebraska. They don't want it. The people want it. The people vote for it. And then the people in power are like, oh, bless your little pointy hearts or heads. You don't know what you're talking about. And then they just undo the will of the people. And you see that in Ohio, you see it in Florida. So very often it is in where the conservatives are in power. That's why we need to, amend the law, not to legalize it, just to say well, the term marijuana no longer exists. Can we just agree that the term marijuana no longer exists? You're regulating the THC to begin with. Just regulate the THC.
Yeah.
Why do we have to call it anything? Just call it THC plants,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, because we have to shake the stigma, and I'm not sure you can ever shake it out of the word.
Well, I don't really use that term marijuana anyway. So,
I try to use. I use the word cannabis
in the federal law, but that's the problem. Like
it's baked in.
When we're talking about cannabis, they're like, well, marijuana, and they whip out the law book and be like, there it is. It says so right there. Marijuana means this. It's like, oh, okay, you have written the pejorative into the law.
Yes.
And so, like, can we just ban the just cross out the pejorative? Keep it where it is. Keep it in Schedule 1. Just be like cannabis with more than 0.3% delta-9 THC, and moving on. We don't have to use this cannabis word. Then the stigma might start to fall away, but people still hate the smell.
Yeah, well, you're always gonna have that. What's your take on the states like Ohio, Massachusetts, and Maine that have decided they're going to put signature campaigns together to repeal the entire program? What's your take on that?
Those are the easiest states to put it on the ballot. That's why they did it there.
Okay.
So it's window dressing only.
So it's because they could.
If you're right, and they could send a press release, and they could say cannabis legalization. They wouldn't call it cannabis legalization. They'd say marijuana legalization is losing. And so, like the SAM people, and you see it, on X going around where it's out of control. It's doing this, and I give the hemp people a lot of grief because of it, as we had a winning issue, and the winning issue is in medical cannabis. Medical cannabis is a winning issue, and it's a winning issue simply because somebody needs it in their life, and it changes their life, and then they become a supporter of it. They could be against it, they could think it was terrible, and then they get cancer, or their grandmother gets cancer, or somebody needs it in their life, and it gives them benefit.
Yep.
And so we had a winning issue. And then we had hemp, which was supposed to be industry and CBD, and they couldn't sell the CBD. And unfortunately, I was one of the lawyers that was doing it, but I was doing it like with tongue in cheek. I was like being sarcastic. It was satire. And so, like I was saying, like, they've defined this inelegantly. They said only delta-9 THC, and the plant doesn't make that unless you light it on fire, and then that's not really making it. And so you defined what makes marijuana or hemp by a chemical that neither of them make unless you light it on fire.
Right. That's
silly. And people were like, no, it's not. That's a business model. I'm going to go sell this. And I'm a genius. It's legal THC. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Go to North Carolina. You'll find an enabling attorney who'll give you an opinion that will say what you want.
Yeah, you can do that. There's plenty of that going around. So these states that are putting, there's no possibility that there's any traction with that. And even I was going to ask you about Florida. Florida, there seems to be a whole contention about, did you get the signatures, or did you get enough of them by a certain date, or did you not? Then they come out on a Sunday and say, no, you didn't get enough signatures, and they come out on Monday and say,
people in power hate it.
Right.
Hate it.
And who knows the truth about the numbers,
Yeah, who knows? I believe the activists. And, I believe the people who are on the ground who are putting these together. Now, when you talk about a program of a repeal, when we look into it, it's not really grassroots on the ground. It's let's hire a company from out of state to come do all of the signature petitioning and signing. It's not even people from the state that are doing it.
So what's your feeling about being in the business, right, dispensary, everything? So that's kind of close to home. So what's your feeling about that competitively?
Oh, Florida's not a competitive market. From a business perspective, I like a market like Missouri, like Washington, to a certain extent, like Illinois, if they would change the laws, because we have this medical mafia here that doesn't want to give it up because they're all publicly traded and they need a beat on earnings. And so, I like a market that spreads it around, caps the licenses, controls them, so that they know, no, this stuff is going in people's bodies. We are trusting it to be pure. And if something's wrong, we're trusting you to alert the people, do a recall, get it back, all that kind of stuff. They are treating it like it's a legitimate good that people are going to use maybe even medicinal. And so those types of states do exist. They are in the more of a minority in the sense that the legislatures, they don't give a shit. They just take the money, right? And so in our state, hemp has the ability to write the checks because they gave all the licenses to social equity, and the social equity person has got $50 in his bank account, and it costs $100 million. It costs $1 million to get operational.
So we'll take the money here, and we'll take the money over here.
Right, and so the hemp people will just say, look, I'm going to go buy a pound of THCA hemp online and start selling it at that street corner right there, and they'll just start making money, and then they'll put it into a smoke shop, and then they'll cut checks to their legislature, and their legislature will start undermining the licensed entities that we have and benefiting them. And so, like, that's the problem. And so in Florida, we have the opposite problem. Now, actually, at both. But then Florida's actually changed it, and so they're trying to collapse their hemp industry right now. And the federal law is going to collapse all the hemp industries because they've defined THC out of the definition of hemp. But in Florida, you have what they call the MMTCs. Terrible model. I don't even think they had it in Pennsylvania. Close. But then they have it in Texas, they had it in New Jersey, they have it in Florida, and you have to be completely vertically integrated. And so, like, it's like the Apple Store model. And so the only thing you can buy at an Apple Store is Apple products. So the only thing you can buy at a dispensary in Florida is the dispensary's products that are that brand. So you go to a True Leaf store in Florida. You go to a cookie store in Florida. You go to like a particular branded store, and then it has to have its own grow that fuels that store. And you're allowed to open as many stores as possible. So you get like a True Leaf. So it really forces you to be a publicly traded corporate company as opposed to a locally owned dispensary. There are no locally owned dispensaries in Florida.
So one of the things, and I go to Maine a lot, we kind of consider Maine like one of our second cough country states that we're a part of. But in Maine, a lot of these small, even the independents, they have their own grows, which is kind of unique, or at least unique in from my perspective. And so usually you can, I've seen it many times where the dispensary is on one side of the parking lot and the grows on the other side of the parking lot. And you can even hear activity. You can hear the fans. You can kind of what's going on. And so I do like how they've done that. It's a complete opposite of New Jersey, where New Jersey doesn't have any ability for any of those guys to do that unless they start stacking licenses. So, I mean, it's. Right. There's no uniformity to things, and there's also lessons learned that other states don't pay attention to. Like there's models that have been, there's things that work better than in some states than others. And so, if you're not quite there, or even if you are there and you want to get to the next level, you got to look around. You have to look at what some of the successful programs are doing, and whether it's a complete program or a part of a program, adopt it, incorporate it. Just because another state did it doesn't mean you can't do it. I mean, we're not trying to reinvent the wheel. We're trying to find a good way to do this that's equitable and allows these companies to be able to profit like any other company. One of the things that we talked about, Tom, and we can talk. I have a feeling we could talk for quite some time. But one of the things that we've been chatting about too, and you mentioned medical, is the importance of a medical program when recreational drives through the door, and what happens to those medical programs. I'll let you touch on it real quick if you want. We're getting to the end here. I do want to say that you are invited. I don't know if it's something you can or can't do, but you're invited to come and hang out with us on the late night show. We do some news stories tonight. I think we've got 4 or 5 news stories that we're going to do. So if you want to, we kind of take an hour in between this and the next one. But you're certainly more than willing to, welcome to join us. So I want to put that out there. But what are your thoughts about, medical programs in states like a Pennsylvania that has a medical program now that is entertaining recreational? What happens to that medical program? It often gets neglected. In my opinion, it gets neglected. The emphasis doesn't necessarily distinguish the products as well as they could between the recreational and the medical. What are your thoughts?
Yep, that's exactly what has happened in numerous states. But I think that there is a revenge of the medical coming. And this is why. Because of Schedule 3. And Schedule 3 is like the first glimpse of a legitimate market for the cannabis plant 80 years plus in our federal policy. And so medical would be Schedule 3. And so, like, there are bills in our state where medical is like where you feel like maybe it's been marginalized, like in your state, or, well, not yet in Pennsylvania, but in other states where it becomes legal, or in Washington State, where it really got just destroyed after that. In my state, it was self-dealing for consistent profits, because there's only 55 medical dispensaries in the state of Illinois, and each one of them is worth an extra like $4 to $5 million a year. And these are publicly traded companies, and so they don't want to let that go. I'm sorry, yeah, $4 to $5 million a year. And so, like, they might have only medical dispensaries, which became hybrid. So they went from selling $4 to $5 million to $20 million a year. And as a result, you know, they don't want to let that go. But other states, when the adult use would come in, they would just kill the medical programs. Now, with the federal government going to medical, you're going to see everything I think is going to become Missouri. Missouri is a hybrid program where they started big on the medical before they went adult use. And so they all were hybrid licenses. And so if every license is a hybrid license and Schedule 3 becomes the law, every license is in compliance and out of compliance.
At the
But
same time,
if there's these federal defundings against the Department of Justice from enforcing the federal law, you want every dispensary to be a hybrid so that they have this ability to say, hey, you can't enforce where this is a medical dispensary. It's like, yes, it's a medical dispensary, but only 20% of your sales are medical. Hey, it doesn't matter. You're not even allowed to like get into this, you know. But also, all of our sales are medical. It's Schedule 3. You haven't figured out how to regulate this from a medical perspective, and then you have to have Congress do something. Congress needs to do something, which is the real problem that we have.
well, they need to do something in a lot of categories.
Schedule 3, the rescheduling, exactly, they do. But with this, like the Biden did it, Trump did it. The federal government's administrative wing of the executive branch can only go so far to allow us to have quasi-legal cannabis or medical cannabis as opposed to completely prohibited cannabis. You need the Congress to be able to legislate this. And so far, the only thing they've been able to do is legislate the cannabis plant moronically. And that, me using the word moronically is euphemism. You know, I would like to use a stronger pejorative word to how badly Congress has regulated cannabis plant.
I guess what I find interesting is as it moves from 1 to 3, that gives doctors the ability to write a prescription. And so when you say, okay, they're going to write a prescription, who the fuck are they going to send it to? Like, they're not sending it to a pharmacy.
They can't.
So how does that
write a prescription?
They can't.
So like, it would still be a recommendation. And so, like, it would be an illegal Schedule 3 drug. And so, like, it is not FDA approved. And so it cannot be put into interstate commerce. And so, like I said, Congress needs to do something. It cannot be put into interstate commerce, and a doctor cannot write a prescription for it. A doctor can write a recommendation for it, and then that recommendation could go. And so, like, Congress really needs to create its own lane, start to create the regulatory regime to track all this, to like make sure that it's not that hard. Like, if there's some salmonella in chicken, we see the recall in the news.
Yeah.
And like they have to have SOPs to do the recall and to prevent all that stuff.
Correct.
And so those are the rules that would go in, and there would be like GMP, but then that gets into like how that you had that grow that's right across the street from the dispo. Well, that grow is probably not GMP compliant. Like, you couldn't be making Campbell's soup in that grow and have it be approved for interstate commerce.
Right.
And so you're going to see this level of regulation that would get layered on that. And I hope that we can kind of figure it out so it's like strawberries. Because, like those strawberries have to be grown a particular way. They have to have recall. They have to have, maybe not all that track and trace, but
they have to have.
You don't want to get the tax money for strawberries,
Yeah, but you're right. They have to have SOPs.
tobacco.
They have to have a recall program, a reverse logistics program. These things have to be shown ahead of time. So when you have a problem, you know how to get it back. And I agree with Tom. Like, why can't it be like strawberries? Why can't you just require these manufacturers to create the SOPs, the reverse logistics, and the things necessary to handle issues if they come up, like any other industry?
Well, that's going to take a long time. Look, it's still in the
everything.
spot.
Everything takes a long
baby
time.
steps. So just getting in business. Hey, right now people just trying to get in business and make money.
Yeah.
Let alone have other people.
I know.
I
know.
Yeah,
but
it's going to be a while.
I'd like to hope it's going to be a while. I
Wish
hope we get there. I really do. I really hope we get there, Tom. Well, I got to say this, man. We would love to have you back. These conversations can continue. I would love to keep talking to you. Again, you're more than welcome to join us at 10:15-ish. It's we're running just a little bit late
I
tonight.
get the kiddos in bed.
I know.
I gotta go. Yeah, and so I gotta say hi to the wife and all that.
I got you.
All day.
I got you.
So,
well, I'm going to kick his ass in the Weed Olympics, just so you know.
Hey, you made the best man get high.
That's
and
it.
so, have you guys on the podcast on Sunday so that more people can find. You got such nice production value. It's almost like you're getting sponsored or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
But,
well, we're working on
great.
it. Well, we appreciate it. And listen, what we're doing at Cough Country TV is we're creating a broadcasting network of different shows, and we're here to create an opportunity for industry people in the industry to advertise, promote, and sell the products. And so I know we could have
That's
a
why
whole
we need Schedule 3.
Yes, and I could have a whole conversation about the whole we're getting the 18 plus and the shadow band, and you're right. I mean, if you're trying to build any type of media presence in this space, it is about the hardest space that you can pick. But we believe in this, and we believe in it a lot. All of us do. Everybody here at the studio right now does. And we want to fight that battle, and we want to be able to provide companies the opportunity to be heard and seen, and that's something that the industry is really against. And so I don't see that really changing. Regulations for advertising. We just did a story the other day about how somebody up in Vermont put their business on weed maps, and they took an $18,000 fine for illegal advertising. I mean, it's crazy. And so somebody has to point these out. I know you do. We're going to try to do it. We enjoy the shit out of your show and your channel. You are super informative. I think you bring a very, very sophisticated level head to issues that are really tough to understand. So we appreciate it. And guys, if you want to learn more about Tom and cannabis legalization news, be sure we'll have the link in the description below. Be sure to go over and give that channel some love.
YouTube clips are good.
Yeah, we appreciate Tom taking the time to be on. So Tom, I'll give you the last word, brother.
Oh yeah, go check out cannabis legalization news, because not all the stuff is good, but I will tell you it, and I will tell hey, this is why weed is still illegal, not the best, and then I'll say this is why your gun rights are giving you back. People love that. People love good news, and you're going to get both, but you're going to get the real stuff over at cannabis legalization.
Yep. And I enjoyed
We aren't really trying to
I enjoyed your lives too. I saw you and your co-host. I've been watching some of the lives, and it's a very different type of show when you guys do live. I think you guys kind of put your hair down a little bit, and there's a little bit more opinion, and your personality comes out a little more. So we really enjoyed both of them. The produced pieces as well as the live.
Yep. Well, when you're putting it out like that and you're trying to be educational, it's different. You will not see the 2-gram dab challenge on cannabis legalization, but you will learn something.
There you
Yeah,
go.
and you will learn something. You're not going to see Weed Olympics. You're going to have to tune in at 10 o'clock to see that. But yeah, guys,
Tune in to Cough Country for Weed Olympics.
right on.
There you go.
So, guys, if you want to stay informed about the things that are going on with legislation in the cannabis space, if you want to understand some of the more complex issues, we definitely suggest Tom at the Cannabis Legalization News channel on YouTube. Tom, we appreciate having you on. It means the world to us. We want to thank you again. Love to have you on again. If you're in the area, you got to come by. You'll have to try the weed claw machine when you're here. Maybe you can pull something
I can't
out.
wait.
Yeah,
Yep.
all right. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, we'll have you guys on the podcast, and so we'll link up later. We're going to have Riley from Cannabichem on the podcast this Sunday. Sometimes we have guests, sometimes we don't.
Well,
right now it's like we're in ordinary time in the sense that there's not like a lot of news. There was supposed to be news this week. FDA was supposed to give us some cannabinoid info. Didn't happen.
Yeah.
There you go.
Pam Bondi got grilled. Didn't mention weed.
Yeah, I watched your show like a week ago, and you said this. You said you called this a week ago. You said the date's going to come and go, and it's not going to happen. You called it. You called it. All right, guys. Tom, thank you so much.
I hate being jaded and right. I hate it. I would much rather be like jaded and wrong.
There you go.
Yeah, jaded and wrong would be better than jaded and right. I agree with you, man. I agree with you. Guys, make sure you like, follow, subscribe, Late Night Green. Make sure you go over and give some love over to Cannabis Legalization News. Also, the Canologist will be on tomorrow night with a Valentine. He's making a Valentine special cocktail that I think you guys are going to definitely want to check out. And also be sure to check out the late night edition tonight. It's going to be around 10:15, I'll tell you guys. About 10:15, we're going to come on. We've got some news stories. We've got the Weed Olympics, and so we're going to have some fun tonight. Tom, thank you so much for being here. We appreciate your time, and we appreciate your effort. Enjoyed talking to you. And we look forward to, I'll tell you right now, we look forward. If you want to have us on your show, we would love to be there. So thank you so much again. And guys, make sure you guys tune back in an hour, and we will see you shortly. Thank you. Take care.